Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello. Welcome back to Previously on Teen TV.
Oi, what kind of accent was that?
Oi. We're Australian today.
Oh, we're from down under.
We're from down under. Shrimp on the barbie. Get your shrimp on the barbie, Claire.
Oh my God.
Well, if you couldn't tell by our terrible Australian accents, we're talking Heartbreak High today. This is such a fun show, and not just because they're Australian.
No.
Although big win for me. The Australians get me.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Do you identify as Australian?
I just think that is like my dream life, to like live in Australia a little bit.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like you're a beachy girl.
yeah. Pack up and live down under.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a little better that
That was
time.
better, yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, by the end of this podcast, we are going to be fluent in the
I
Australian
promise
accent.
I will not talk an Australian accent the whole time.
Okay.
But so yeah, this was an Australian teen drama show that is currently on Netflix for everyone. So be sure, if you have not watched the show, go watch it. Okay, it is very good. Like, I promise you will love it.
Yeah, 1 season, 8 episodes. You can do it in a day.
It's on Netflix right now, and season 2 is coming out April 11th. So that's why I wanted to give a little refresher on season 1, talk all about it, because I want you people to watch this show.
Yeah, we need more seasons of this show. I love this show. I'm obsessed with it and just want more.
We can't let those Australians down. I know my Australian accent was bad.
Okay.
I'm going to work on it.
Yeah.
It was a little British.
A little British.
A little Mrs. Doubtfire, maybe even.
Yeah. A little.
Which is my go-to. That's my go-to accent, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Australian, slang in the
Yes.
show too. It's quite authentic.
It is, yeah. A lot of Australian slang, a lot of Gen Z Australian slang, if you want to get specific. So I was thinking it might be fun if we did a little quiz on some of the slang that is used in season 1 of Heartbreak High.
I love that.
All right, Jillian,
Well,
are you
I gotta
ready?
say though too, like, I did not pay attention to like the slang. Like, I didn't look any of it up. I think I was just like, I get what they're saying. I get it. So I think I'm gonna be quite bad at this.
See, and I
but-
had the advantage of watching with subtitles, so I could see when there was like a word that was like not a word that we would say,
No.
and so I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I
But-
refuse to watch with subtitles. So
okay, well,
let's see how it goes. Let's see how I do. This is fun.
all right. So we're going to start off with one that I think you've heard a lot. It's maybe
Okay.
the most used one, and it is esche.
I literally like.
Okay.
Can you use it in a sentence or no? Is that cheating?
Cash is an esche.
Oh. Is that like,
Okay.
drug dealer?
It's okay. It is an Australian youth subculture linked to streetwear brands such as Nike and Adidas, hip hop culture, and distinctive language, typically of a crude or vulgar nature.
Okay,
so it's
so
not
I was wrong.
not a drug, but I think like many drug dealers, I would imagine, are called like esches. Like,
Okay.
This next one, you're gonna get. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Ugsdre.
Ugstray?
Ugsdre.
Ugstray.
What I will say is it seems like a lot of these words are Pig Latin.
I was literally
Okay.
about to say, is it Pig Latin?
Esche is Pig Latin.
I didn't take
Ugsdre.
Latin.
It's not.
All I'm thinking about is Ugg boots. Is this?
That explains
Yes.
your struggle with this game.
Esche also comes from Pig Latin. It comes from like sesh. So like these like kids would be like, I'm gonna go have a sesh with my friends, like hang out with my friends, and then sesh became esche, and so that's
Oh.
according to my research.
Interesting.
Okay.
Teacher Claire over here. I love it.
Yeah. Chippies.
Oh, chips.
Yeah, chippies like chips like
Fries?
yes.
Okay. I was so unsure.
Yes, chippies like fries, like French
when I
fries.
first said chips, I kind of meant chips, potato chips. But then I thought, chippies.
Yes.
I like that one. I'm gonna start saying that.
Dunny.
I'm done with that.
No.
I think you should start using it.
Yeah, we're just gonna make up our own
I'm
slang.
done with this podcast today.
It's an evolution from Dunzo.
yeah, that's like literally what I was thinking. That's where my brain goes.
So Dunny is like a toilet or a bathroom, but like not a nice one.
Wow, I did not realize that when I was watching this show. Like, what did I miss? I'm gonna have to rewatch again.
Okay, let's do 2 more. So kick on.
Kick on. Like, let's go. Let's get the party started. Kick on.
Similar. It's kick on is like an after party.
Oh,
or you
okay,
can also
I
use it
was
as a
not-
verb. We're gonna kick on. We're gonna like go somewhere else after.
I wasn't super far off, but
No,
I
yeah.
like that. I'm gonna
Kick
start
on.
using that.
Or like go to the kick on. I think.
let's go to the kick on. I love
Yeah.
that. We're kicking on. Next
Yeah.
spot. Next
Yeah.
spot.
I feel like
There
we're
you
going
go.
to use this slang all wrong.
Yeah.
Like-
You're gonna really fuck it up. Yeah. And for our last one, rack off.
Fuck off.
Yes, correct.
She got
Nicely
it.
done.
I got
All
it.
right.
Wow, I got the explicit one. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I think we all learned something here today.
And they did use that slang quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like as you were like going through that, I was like, oh, they did say that a lot.
yeah, it reminds you of like, oh, that scene, and they do a good job. You know, like in context, it all makes sense. Like you don't need to know every single word. Like you didn't know what Dunny meant. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not an important plot point.
I feel like you like get it in the sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't let that slang deter
Well, now
you from watching
you're all
that
ready
show.
to watch
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah, you guys are all ready to watch Heartbreak High.
Yeah.
You can get your Australian passport. You're Australian now. So we both did love this show. Like
Loved it.
I watch it. I like randomly watch it. Actually, literally from people recommending it to me on
Yes.
their Instagram. And I was like, I'm just going to check this out. I really did not think much about it. Like I wasn't even thinking maybe that we would talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching it and I was like, oh my God, this is like really, really good.
It
and
is
like,
surprisingly good because
yeah.
I was like, oh, a Netflix show. Like, you know, sometimes you're like, the quality, is
Yeah.
it really going to be that interesting? I loved it.
I know. I like literally watched the whole thing like in one day. I mean, you know me.
Yeah, you love a binge.
So I was like so pleasantly surprised about it. To me, I feel like this was a little bit like, well, why don't you give us a synopsis, Claire?
Okay, cool.
Before I really dive in here.
Sure. A quick synopsis of season 1. So it is about Amory and her best friend Harper. They have been making a sex map in their high school, which sort of chronicles who has hooked up with whom in the school. Someone at the school finds it. Amory gets in big trouble. She gets blamed for it solo. And then everyone who is listed on the map is forced to go to a sexual literacy class, which they call sluts for short. At the same time, Harper decides that she doesn't want to be friends with Amory anymore. She won't tell Amory why, but we see through flashbacks that it has something to do with what happened at this music festival they went to shortly before school started. And so as the season goes on, we see people, they make out and they hook up and they break up and they fight with their friends and they make new friends. And then, we just sort of see them hang out and have fun and we figure out what happened to Harper.
I mean, you had me at make out, hook up, party, incest map.
Yes, not actual incest, as is a clarification in the show. It's just a school incest type of thing, I guess.
Of who hooked up with who.
Exactly.
Which I made one of those when I was in high school.
I was going to ask. That is fascinating.
Not with like the whole school, but like with my group of friends. Like I made one once because I was just like, look at how we're all connected and who's connected to us. And I want to say it was also not like the map in the show where it's like very descriptive
Yes.
on what they did when they hooked up. Mine was like so and so made out. Like
Yeah.
a very much more, PG-13
Just a person is connected to a person. You didn't have the actual act.
No, I
Okay.
wish I did. That would have been more fun. Ahead of its time. But yeah, I mean, a lot is going on in this show. And what I kind of loved about it is, like, to me, this was very reminiscent of Skins.
Okay.
The old like UK version, not the US version. And I know there's obvious similarities to Sex Education in this.
Sure.
But I feel like this was so much like Skins because I feel like all the characters were like cool.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone was like, even the ones who were maybe a little bit more like outsiders, and maybe not what you would say like in the cool group or whatever. Like, that's not even what I mean. I just mean like they're cool kids, like cool teenagers. Like everyone kind of like had something to offer. No one was like annoying, like to the point of like, get out of here. Like, we don't want you around. Like, they all kind of hung out together too. And it was like all different types of, you know, people kind of coming together. And again, all just kind of cool. If you know what that means, you know what it means. And I just feel like that's how Skins was too. And of course, like, you know, the like partying and like going out and dressing cool and like and outfits is all like reminiscent to me of Skins.
Yeah, I didn't watch Skins, but I do know what you mean in that like they all have a distinct sense of identity and like a distinct sense of fashion, and they're all very secure in that, which I think we don't get a lot of in teen shows. Like a lot of times you'll have a character or two who's like struggling to fit in and figure out like where they belong, and all of these characters have friends or have an identity or have like a sense of like style without talking about it. We can just sort of tell like, oh, that's something that like Darren would wear, and like that's very clearly like something that Harper would wear, like without having to discuss it. And so I liked that a lot about it.
I think like that's what it is. It's like the confidence. Like all of them do have this confidence like in themselves, and not in like a Glee way, but in a way of like, even when Amory is like struggling with like having no friends at the moment, and her best friend isn't talking to her and she doesn't know why, like she's still very confident in like who she is and herself, in a way that I thought was like refreshing about this show.
Yeah, and I like that these characters, like when something happens, like with Amory, she's struggling, or at one point Harper's struggling, like they don't shrink, and like you don't have like them like wearing like comfy clothes or like ducking their heads. Like Amory's still like wearing her cute little fits and like doing her hair and makeup to go to school, even though she has no friends. Like she's still
and getting
like
bangs.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot she gets bangs so early.
I love when somebody gets bangs on these shows.
Anytime you're like, don't do it, girl, it's a bad idea. But
hers looked good. They worked out.
Well, Darren fixed them for her. But yeah, I think I see the comparisons to Sex Education.
Yeah.
Because it is more openly and explicitly talking about sex, but it doesn't have that like too educational, for lack of a better term, tone. Like Sex Education is very much like, we're here to teach you something, to sort of like hold hands and be really positive. And this show is like, that's the goal of like the class, but also like these kids like don't listen, like they're behaving badly all the time, and it takes a while for them to wrap their heads around like, no, we really should treat each other better.
That's why I like this show more than Sex Education, honestly, because I do feel like it just wasn't as like preachy, kind of.
Yes.
And I know that, you know, Sex Education wasn't also like necessarily always like that. Maybe I'm thinking more of like the last season, but I just feel like this show did such a good job of like showing like authentic teenagers talking about sex, talking about like what teenagers are going through nowadays, and like talking about identity and like topics that we don't always see on these shows, and like tough topics, but like again in a way that's just like not preachy and not like in your face. I just feel like they did this in a little bit more of a like natural way.
Yeah, it's more grounded.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good word for it.
And I think sex education borders on a little like saccharine at times.
Yeah,
not all the time, because it is very funny. But sometimes it's a little too sweet when you're like, people aren't that nice, especially at that age. And this one is like, they're not all monsters, but like, yeah, sometimes in high school, like you're shitty to your friends because you're upset and you don't know how to handle it.
But I feel like in this show too, we saw the teens. We saw the teens like come together more and like be friendly with each other, and like the different groups would all like come together and like go be at the parties together, and like mingle amongst each other a little bit more, I thought.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about some of those teen groups and
let's talk about
who they are? So I think like I've broken them down into like some subgroups, but even this is like they mix and match throughout the season. So we've got Harper, Sasha, and Missy.
Mean girls.
Kind of mean girls.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I say that. And mainly for Sasha and Missy. Okay.
Yeah.
Harper decides to stop speaking to Amory. We don't know why. And then Missy and Sasha just follow on board
Yes.
with like no reasoning of their own, really.
No.
And I thought that was so mean. Like, I just like, my heart really like felt for like Amory in that
Yes.
moment of just like, oh, so now all the girls are just like following Harper and no one has any idea why Harper is not speaking to you.
No.
Like, get in there and try and help these two girls work this out.
Exactly. And then they do the same thing to Harper later on after like the whole thing falls apart with Dusty.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but you treated Amory badly when you like hooked up with Malachi. And like, that's like, she's your friend. Like, at least stand by your choices.
I know.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
didn't love that. The boys, Dusty, Spider, and Ant.
Jocks, but not jocks, like
Yeah.
the popular guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Dusty was cute.
Dusty's very cute. Dusty's like the dream, like throwback, like a 90s dream boy.
Yes, that's why
he's
we like him.
Strong
Like-
Andrew Keegan vibes from Dusty.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that hair in those eyes.
He's just dreamy.
Yeah,
He's so
he
dreamy.
is.
Yeah, but they are like popular boys, but like kind of athletes and like kind of douchebags, but
Yeah.
like they're not evil. They're just like misguided.
They're not evil. They like just think that they're like funny all the time. And it's like, ugh, you kind of just roll your eyes a little.
Yeah, exactly. Then I have Amory, who becomes friends with an existing pairing, Darren and Quinny. Darren and Quinny are not outcasts necessarily because they have each other and they're confident in themselves and their
Yeah.
friendship, but like they're not trying to like hang out with the cool kids.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're doing our own thing.
They're not trying to be friends with like Dusty and Spider.
They could care less.
Yeah. I feel like it's like kind of a little bit more like outsiders, like in that sense of like doing their own thing. But we see them like regularly, like at these parties and like with the, you know, with the whole like school and with
Yeah.
the group. But they definitely do kind of like get made fun of by those boys a little bit more.
Yeah. They're just doing their own thing and they don't have time for anyone else. And I can see when, you know, high school boys would be like, that's weird.
Well, and I feel like when Anne-Marie joins their group, she kind of like opens up their world a little bit more.
True. Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
like, let's go to the cemetery and get drunk with everybody.
Yes.
And I'm like, that is so fun. Oh my God. This show really did kind of make me like be like, oh, like they're giving me all those high school things. Like they're giving me these like social groups.
Yes.
They're giving me these like parties in a graveyard. Like they're giving me
Yeah.
skipping school. Like they're giving me like just everything you kind of want out of these shows.
Oh yeah. Like dress up themes and like that kind of high
Yes.
school experience that you sort of wish that you had.
But in Australia.
Yes, so it's even better. And then two more characters we should talk about who don't really have a group, Cash and Malachi.
Well, Cash is the Eshe.
Cash is the
As I
Eshe.
learned.
Cash with a $sign, I should say. And Malachi
Is that how he spells it?
yeah, on
On the subtitles? Did that come up like
and
that?
in the first episode, they do they introduce you to all the characters with like a little like their
yeah, I
name,
forgot.
and it has a $sign. But even on the subtitles, it's Cash with a $sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta watch subtitles. I'm missing
I know,
so
yeah, you're
much,
gonna
you
get so much more out of the
guys.
experience. And then Malachi is the new kid at school.
The new dreamy guy.
Yeah.
I loved watching him really try and like date Anne-Marie and like just their like little cat and mouse game that they were doing there for a lot of episodes. I thought was really fun.
Yeah, I was very into their relationship. I was rooting for them.
They had a good banter back
They
and forth.
did, yeah.
Yeah. And Malachi was cute.
Very cute.
And like not a like you could tell Malachi doesn't like fully fit in with like the Dusty and the Spider and like that group. Like he's a little bit like has a little bit more of a conscience.
Yeah,
I feel like
he calls them on their bullshit.
Yeah.
Like they're being jerks, and it's easy to have that sort of like groupthink mentality when like one of them's an asshole, so the other ones are like, I got to be an asshole too. And,
Yeah.
and Malachi's like, no, you're being assholes. I don't want to talk to you. Which is nice.
Yeah. It is
It's
nice.
nice. It's like, oh, well, look at that. A
Aw.
nice boy for the most part.
And normally I'm rooting for the bad boy. Like normally I'd be rooting for Anne-Marie to get with like Dusty or like somebody else. But I was like, Malachi's just like that perfect like in between. Like,
So you weren't rooting for her to get with Dusty?
not when Malachi showed up, because Dusty was like, the minute he hooked up with like Harper in the beginning, I was like, after you kissed Amory,
Literally,
now
like,
you're hooking up with Harper. Like
10
I was
minutes
kind of
later.
like, that's too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got over Dusty quite quickly, and then Malachi was just in the wings waiting.
Yeah.
Were you rooting for Dusty, Jesse?
I mean, not like over Malachi, but I always like want the girl to like actually end up hooking up with the guy she originally wanted to, just to like,
I
you
get
know,
that.
I
check
get
that
that.
off.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
And she
like,
comes close.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
satisfied.
Okay, good.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so those are kind of like our main groups of friends and the main characters of it. And one thing that I did really like about all of these characters is that like every single one of them, we really do follow a lot of their journeys and learn a lot about them. And they're all like pretty flawed. Like everyone is making mistakes throughout the show. Like even in the case with like Amory and Harper, it's like I'm mad at Harper and I'm mad at Amory.
Yes.
Like everyone is kind of like making mistakes. Like there's not a clear like side,
No.
I feel like, with a lot of these characters, which I like. It's like everyone's pretty flawed. Everyone's making mistakes. And I just think it makes it like a lot more interesting than to watch their journeys. And it just like makes it more interesting of like, well, I'm on Harper's side for this and I'm on Amory's side, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I feel for both of them. I feel
Yeah.
for everyone.
There's a constant sort of push-pull with them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're rooting for them all to just sort of get along and just talk to each other. Like it's like you just
know.
need to talk to each other, but you know, they communicate in different ways, and they're, like you said, they're all flawed, they're stubborn, and sort of blinded to their own things. Like they're all dealing with their own issues. They can't necessarily see what's going on around them. But I think I appreciate that they're all flawed and that we can sort of root for all of them at different points, because I think sometimes when you have like a villainous character, it can get a little tired. You're like, well, they're a
Yeah.
villain. And so like, I know how this is going to work out in the end. Like they're going to be bad and they're going to go up against this person. And then it's sort of
Yeah.
almost like a foregone conclusion. And with this, it's just more complicated and more interesting to watch.
Right. Like there really isn't like a clear villain in this. Like I feel like at one point even like we think like Spider might be like a little bit of a villain or just like the number one douche in the group.
Yeah.
And like then we kind of see a little bit more like to his character
Yeah.
and see that like he's had a crush on Amory. And
Yeah.
that was like unexpected.
Yeah, you see, like, oh, he's just like a boy who likes a girl, and he
Yeah.
doesn't know how to act properly. Like,
They never do.
No, and he handles it very, very poorly. But like, anytime I was like, oh, I really hate Spider, like he's such a jerk. He's like bordering on incel for me. They would show like, no, he's not that bad. He's just like, he doesn't know how to act properly.
Yeah, well, I feel like they kind of gave a lot of these characters like a little bit of like a deeper look. So then it's like, yeah, so then you're rooting for everyone a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Dusty maybe just for his looks, but
But he had some nice moments.
he did.
There were some nice moments that he had, which made it all the more sort of terrible when you find out that nope, he's a jerk too.
Well, he's like turns
the-
out he's the number one
I was
douche
gonna
in
say,
the group.
he's the ringleader, which is
Yeah.
terrible because he seemed like the nicest of the three boys. But
I know. They
know.
really did a flip on that,
Yeah.
and I did not like it.
yeah, well, we'll have to see how season 2 goes down. What else made the show stand out to you?
I feel like it was funny.
It's
there were
very
a lot
funny.
of funny moments. Like what I like about it is like it kind of is like a soapy show, which is that's my thing. Like
Yeah.
I like it to be a little bit more like soapy and dramatic. I mean, hello, we grew up on like the OC.
Yeah.
Like we like that. But I feel like then there were some really like funny moments, and Darren is a really funny character. I mean, everyone kind of had like funny moments throughout it. And the funny moments weren't also just like about the like sex education that they were getting.
No.
Like there were a lot of moments in the show that really did have me like laughing out loud.
One of my favorite, like, really funny moments that made me laugh out loud was like when Cash and Darren were exchanging like nudes, basically.
Yeah.
And Cash like didn't know how to take a nude,
It's
and
so
Darren did a
good.
full-on photo shoot.
It's like such a funny sequence. The butt pic.
Oh my god.
It's so good.
It was really good.
It was. I love that they took that at school too. That was
it's
at
like in
school.
in like the drama department costume
Yeah.
room or
Yeah.
something.
That's what those rooms are for.
Sending nudes to your crush.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I loved Cash's Nan too.
Oh,
She was a
yeah.
star.
She was really funny. Their just like dynamic together was really cute.
Yeah.
And really funny. She really kind of like gave Cash. We're like, oh, he's not just a drug dealer.
No.
Like he takes care of his Nan.
Yeah. He's just sweet boy.
There's more to him. I really love too. It's a scene in the first episode, and it's like Amory is like by the water and like crying, and there's that is it 1,000 miles?
Yes, I
It's
literally wrote
1,000
that in my
miles
notes.
playing. And it's just such a funny moment of her listening to this song.
so self-aware.
Crying, and then like a bug like flies into her mouth. And it was just like, because it was like pretty dark before. I mean, she got punched by like
Her best friend.
She has no idea why. She's so confused, and I'm like feeling for her. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and then like she's just like crying to 1,000 miles, which who among us hasn't?
I know.
You know. And then the bug going into her mouth. It was just good. I was like, oh, so this isn't going to be like heavy the whole time. We'll get these little like moments, which is nice.
Yeah, this show I think does a really great job of balancing that light and dark stuff, because we know that there's darker things like some darker plot elements happening with Harper. We don't know what it is, but we see all these hints at it. But then we also have like these moments like you said, with the bug and with the nudes and like just with all these with like the dildo that gets stuck to the basketball backboard and then just keeps like falling, like these really funny moments that sort of balance it out, which is nice.
Well, what did you guys not like about, at least about season one? We've heard all the things that you love.
Yeah, we think this show is brilliant. But I will say one thing that I didn't love, that didn't really hit home for me.
Okay.
And I don't want to sound like a prude, but I did not love the threesome. And I thought the scene was well done. I just feel like as a plot device, like I didn't love it. So the threesome is with Dusty, Harper, and Malachi. And it's also after Malachi experiences police brutality.
Yes.
So it's a very like dark moment for him. And then the episode ends with like Harper and Dusty comforting him. And then they have a threesome. And like at first I thought maybe this would stop. Like we wouldn't go full threesome, but we did. And I just felt like it just wasn't really like necessary like in the story. Like I kind of felt like there was already a lot going on, and I know a lot changes like afterwards, so it does like move the storyline along. I just kind of felt like it was like maybe like a cheap way to move the storyline along.
I see what you mean. I was kind of mixed on it because when it happened, I was like shocked. I was like, I did not think that this was going to happen at the end of the episode, like you said, where like Malachi's gone through something traumatic and then they end it with like him having a threesome with his friend and the friend's girlfriend. But I did appreciate that at the very least, it was a device to move the plot forward.
Yeah.
So it leads to, you know, Dusty and Harper breaking up, and it leads to Amory like ending things with Malachi, and it throws another wrench into this possible reunion between Harper and Amory. Like it does move things forward. So I guess I'm glad that they used it at least.
Yeah.
But I do see like they didn't need to do it. They could have found other ways, I think, to make those storylines happen. Yeah.
I feel like it was just not really believable. Like
Yeah,
I think that
really
was like
that's it.
the way
was
so shocking.
Yeah.
That it was like Malachi wouldn't do that.
I know.
And like Harper wouldn't do that.
And would
like,
Dusty initiate it?
Yeah.
Like
I know.
he doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
I think like
who would
that's what it
initiate.
was.
Yeah.
I just
and then
feel
they
like-
had that whole thing of like Malachi questioning his sexuality, which never really seemed to
Right.
Yeah.
To
like,
pay
go
off.
anywhere.
in the
I was
locker
like, is
room.
this where this is going? And then they never did anything
Right.
with it.
Yeah, I know. I wondered that too. And then I was like, but you made Malachi a full love interest. Like, and I kind of felt like they could have had him and Amory break up just from like that night.
Yeah, 'cause they-
and through everything he was going through.
Right.
So then I feel like, oh, we had to have threesome on that too.
Yeah.
It just felt like things were already kind of like ending for these couples. And then It was just so much.
Yeah. And I think related to that, I feel like we didn't get a clear resolution on Malachi post sort of like not breakdown, like meltdown, I'll say, because he, after the threesome, he like, you know, is no longer friends with Dusty at school, and then he goes to that party and he's like drunk and standing on the roof and is like, I'm gonna jump.
Oh, it was so
it's
dark.
really dark, and thankfully, like, you know, someone pulls him down and he goes off. He spends an entire episode out in the bush, seemingly like trying to like process this event that's happened to him, but like we don't actually get dialogue. We just see him out there with this other guy, with Missy's brother, and then he just, like, that's all we see of him that entire episode, are just shots of them in the woods together. And then the next episode, he's back and he's like, yeah, I'm good. And like, he doesn't talk about it. We don't really know like what type of, like, where he's at now emotionally. They just sort of are like, all right, he's fixed.
I know. I kind of hope we get a little bit more of that storyline in season 2 or something.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of then feels like him and Amory would just continue to have like the same problems, like if they got back together. Like he kind of needs to like talk to her about like how he's feeling and like and everything that he's gone through.
Yeah.
And we never really got that scene.
No.
Which was sad.
That was the only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head that I really didn't care for.
Yeah. And I will say, you know, shot beautifully, like the best threesome we've seen on TV on one of these shows. Way better than the Gossip Girl one.
I was going to say, the Gossip Girl one was so tame. It's
like,
just kissing and kissing. And
right.
then this one was like, there was music and it was like the slow-mo and they're like, you know, blowing smoke into each other's mouths. It's all very, like, it's all very hot.
Yeah, I did think it was well done, and it wasn't cheap. Like,
No.
I just thought that it was kind of like a cheap device to split everybody up.
Yeah.
In that sense. But again, shot beautifully.
Yeah.
So good job to that director.
I will say,
you.
overall, I feel like I appreciate that this show does talk about sex and like the characters are having sex, but when we see it, it's not gratuitous. Like there's not a lot of nudity in the show.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of like close-ups on anyone's bodies. Whereas like, you know, with Sex Education is my sort of comparison point where it's like aggressively naked in your face to make you like laugh, I think.
Yeah.
And this is not that. It's, you know, just like it's hinting at that.
It's romantic.
Yeah, it's romantic.
They do keep it like pretty romantic, I felt like.
Yeah.
Like even it's like, it was like Amory's first time when she was having sex with Malachi, and it like, I feel like a lot of times shows now are like, well, we need to show how awkward it is, and because it's her first time and they're young and they don't know what they're doing, and it's like, I don't really care to watch the awkwardness. Like I still want to see some of those more like romantic moments in there.
I think so too. And I think what I stuck out to me about that scene was that I have never seen a scene where it's like consent is at the front and center, but it's not cringy. Like, because that episode talks about like it's important to have consent, and that's true on the show, that's true in life. And they do see like Malachi is asking her like, is this okay? Do you like this? Do you like that? But none of it's like, are you like nervous or like, you know,
is this okay?
Yeah,
Do
he's
you
like,
feel
it's
good?
very like, it's like a sexy
Right.
scene where they're still being consensual. And I appreciate that.
Is this okay?
Yeah, and then she's like,
Like it's more of a whisper than that. Like,
so
is this
sexy.
okay?
like a timid type thing. Yeah.
It was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good work, Malachi. Well, should we get into the ending of the show?
You mean what happens to Harper?
Yes.
Or happened. Yes.
So we finally find out what happens to Harper in the last episode,
Yes.
episode 8, which to me, I did think that took a little too long in my opinion. Probably why I binged the show though, because there is like the underlying like mystery. Like as you're
Yes.
watching, you are like, what happened here? And we're given like some hints, but like not really. And it is more of like an underlying thing.
Yeah.
It's not at the forefront,
It's not.
I would say. There's other storylines and other things happening, which I did like.
Yeah.
Because we're not obsessing then about this thing the whole time.
Yeah, I think what's useful about this or clever is that we are seeing it through Amory's eyes. So Amory, we know, like was there that night, but she and Harper get separated and she blacked out. And so each episode she sort of remembers a little bit more about that night and sort of is putting the pieces together. And so we're watching this and putting the pieces together between that and Harper's memories until finally Harper says what happened in the final episode.
And well, it comes out too. We see her in the second to last episode. We find out she just comes out all bloody and
Yeah.
like we don't know why.
Right.
And there's like hints at like something is going on with her dad, but it's like confusing.
There's like two. So I guess we should just say like spoilers from here on out about the final episode and what happened. to
Yeah, if
Harper.
you haven't finished it, skip ahead.
Yeah. So there are sort of two possibilities like that they hint at throughout the series, and it sort of turns out that both of them happened, but in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like in the first episode, you're kind of assuming like, did a sexual assault or assault happen to her?
Right.
Because, you know, she shaves her head.
Yeah.
She seems to be like very angry about something. And we know that they were at a music festival together. We know that like something happened at this music festival and just like it seems like whatever it was really, really bad because she is not the same person like
Right.
as she was before.
Right.
Well, we see her basically like wake up in a car.
Yeah. So she gets separated from Anne-Marie because they have this big fight.
Right.
And then she's by herself. She's angry and upset and alone. She wakes up in a car, in the backseat of a car, between two guys. There's two other guys in the front seat. Cash is in the passenger seat, and his friend, another Eshe, is driving.
I thought Cash was driving.
No, because Australia, different side of the road.
Ah,
He's a-
wow.
He's the passenger, I believe.
Whatever.
Either
It
way,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. He's in the car. And it sort of becomes clear that these guys are going to take her somewhere and assault her. That's their plan.
Yeah.
And Cash is like very nervous. He's like quiet. He's trying to sort of like, I don't know. You can see that he wants to help her. They stop at a gas station. Two of the guys get out and Cash unlocks the door and for her, and she runs into the woods and hides and thankfully is not assaulted.
And they're like chasing her when she gets out of the car, and one of them like rips her hair. So then we know that's why she shaved her head, because they took out like a huge chunk of her hair as she was getting out of the car. But she was able to break free.
Yep.
And then, though, we find out too that she gets back home and her dad is like methed out.
Yeah, he's unwell. He's
Yeah.
paranoid. He thinks that someone has broken into the house and doesn't recognize her. And so she has to lock herself in her bedroom basically until the morning, until the cops come the next morning and are
Yeah.
like, you know, the neighbors said that you might be here.
And then she stays with another family for a while, but then she comes back to live with the dad. And we don't know why she's like staying with the other family either. So I
no.
think that like the two things happening to her at once was like kind of like messes with the viewer a little bit in the
Right.
sense of like, well, why is she living with this foster family? Like, and the dad's a character,
Right.
a little bit throughout it. And not a lot of parents are really characters
And
in this. So
you see that he seems to care about her. Like
Yeah.
he is concerned about her and he seems to love her, but you know, has his own issues. The reason that she's upset with Anne-Marie though is that between these two horrible events, after she escapes from this potential assault, she goes to Anne-Marie's house because she was planning on staying the night there, knocks on her window and can hear Anne-Marie inside, and then Anne-Marie shuts off the light. And so she doesn't know why. Anne-Marie is just pretending that she's not home. She's upset with her. And then after that, Harper goes home. And then that's where she encounters her father. Yeah.
And we find out that Anne-Marie wasn't answering the knock because she was hooking up with Spider and she didn't want Harper to know.
Right. She was embarrassed.
So a lot of layers there. I mean, what a terrible night for Harper.
I know.
Honestly.
Like 3 really terrible things happening to her. And I get it. Like
I
I could see
know.
why you'd like blame Anne-Marie for not being there, even though she had no knowledge of the situation.
Right.
But, you know, she's supposed to be your best friend, and they had previously talked about her spending the night, and then she just pretends that she's not home. Like, yeah, I could see why she'd be upset.
Obviously, it's like so horrible that Harper went all through that. But I did at least like that it was like reason enough, like it was like a good reason not to speak to Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
it wasn't like, oh, you didn't talk to her like for that. You know, I did feel like it was like you really felt for Harper when you really like see it all kind of unfold and see it all happening. And you're like, yeah, I get why you would do that now. Like, and I get why, you know, you kind of like have been acting this way and did all these actions. I did kind of feel like throughout it too, I was like, Anne-Marie, like clearly something bad has happened to this girl. Like, why are you not like doing more? I mean, again, and everyone's flawed in this show, and that was like Anne-Marie's big flaw. But I was like, clearly something terrible has happened to her. You even see all these bruises on her at one point.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out. Like, don't stop. Like,
yeah, it's frustrating because like she's your best friend, and I get that she seems just to be annoyed. She's like, you don't like me, you punched me in the face, and you won't tell me why. I get the annoyance of that, but like clearly that didn't happen overnight. And if she's not giving you an explanation, that means there certainly is one.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's acting differently. She like almost sets that guy on fire, like when they're demoing the self-defense. Like obviously something's up with her. Yeah. So like yeah, come on, like get out of your own way, get out of your own head, and like pay attention to your best friend.
That's a very teenage thing though, I feel like. Of just like God, I remember being at like that age, and like you see something going on, but you're just like, why is she ignoring me? Like, you don't have the communication skills to like really dig in there and find out what happened, and to be like, I'm your friend, like I'm not leaving you,
right?
You know, like, tell me what's going on. You just don't have it at that age.
You don't have that perspective of like, clearly this isn't about me.
Some people don't have it later in life, you know.
So how do we feel about how the season wrapped up? They made up.
I'm so happy they're friends again.
Yes.
Like, I just feel like I was like, oh, thank God. Like, we're ending the season with them, like, being friendly. Yeah. We see them, like, hanging out and hugging and, like, laughing. And I was just like, it was, like, such a, like, sigh of relief that we got that.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that they ended it, like, not on a happy scene. Like, we do get them, they're friends again. They're jumping into the ocean with, you know, Darren and Quinny, and they're all, like, hanging out together. But then the final scene is them lighting Shook's car on fire.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, are we going to explore more of that rage, that trauma in season 2? Because, like, that's not something you get over quickly.
I know. I was glad that they ended it on that, because when they did end it, or I thought they were going to end it with them all like swimming in the water, and there's a Haim song playing, and I was like, oh, I love this moment. This is so good, and it looks so beautiful. But I'm glad that they like reminded us of like, no, Harper's like still going through it. Like she's still like experiencing this and is finally talking about it. So like it's like she's just really dealing with like the emotions of everything that's happened to her.
Right.
And that guy was gonna get away like
I know.
scot free. Like
I love two women setting a terrible man's car on fire.
Yes.
So I'm all here for that.
Thelma and Louise it in season 2.
Give me like them just like burning things in every episode next season. Like I will take it. I know. I want them to get their revenge even more.
Yeah, I want to see more of their friendship in season 2, because we didn't really get to see it in season 1. We just get a couple flashbacks, but that is something I'm really looking forward to and hoping to see in season 2 is more Harper and Anne-Marie together. I hope that things work out for Cash, so that he and Darren can figure out their lives together.
I know.
They're so cute, and I'm rooting for them. And
their big like pronouncement of love in the last episode was like so cute and like such a great scene. So yeah, I hope that in season 2 we get more of them, and I hope they're still in love.
Yeah.
I want to see a little bit more too of like some of these other like side characters that like are kind of a little bit more in the background, like Aunt Missy, like who are kind of there throughout the season, but we didn't learn that much about them. I feel like Ant especially had like a lot of potential, where I feel like he was just like kind of trying to like follow Dusty and like do what he
Right.
said. So I'd love to see him as more of like a full character.
I was
Give me
thinking
a little romance with Ant.
I was thinking that too. He seems like more or less like a sweet guy, just sort of, trying to, like you said, follow Dusty, follow Spider. I would love for Spider to get maybe not a full redemption arc. Like, I don't want him to change overnight, but like they did show us that like he has feelings, he has emotions. And so maybe he can like lean into the softer side in season 2.
Yeah, I do want like happiness for Spider, because I feel like part of like his behavior is because he's like unhappy and like wants like romance.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see how he would act like if he had that.
There are a lot of fans that want Anne-Marie and Spider to get together.
I know. I am not a fan of that. I am Anne-Marie and Malachi Endgame. Like, I need them to be together.
Well, then how do you feel about this new boy that we're getting in the season 2 trailer?
I'm not happy about it.
Okay.
I mean, I know the season 2 trailer really like showed us we're getting a love triangle next season. This new guy, Rowan.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do
where
love
did he come from?
Well, we're going to find out. I do love a proper love triangle because we
I
didn't really
know.
get that in season 1. Like, she was bouncing
know.
around, but she was never fully in a triangle with anyone. Nobody was in a triangle season 1, so.
That is a good point. I do love a good love triangle, but I'll be rooting for Malachi the whole time.
Yeah. But we do get some interesting pairings.
Some
Potential.
new pairings. Like, the trailer was kind of wild, you guys. Like, I was like shocked by it. I mean, Harper and Ant.
Maybe.
I'm kind of for that.
You're getting your wish.
I
I
know.
know. You get a romance with Anne.
Well, I want Harper to like have some fun this
Yes.
season too. Like, I want to see like Harper have some happiness after everything. So I feel like Ant could be that guy for her. I'm about that.
I know. Missy and Spider. Also in the
Shocked by
trailer.
that too. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, I want to learn more about Missy because the only thing we know
Yeah.
about her romantic history is that she and Sasha dated and then they broke up but stayed friends. So, like, yeah, Missy should have someone to date too.
You know what I was shocked about from the trailer? Where was Dusty?
I know, it's a mystery.
He's not in it like at all.
I know.
So we like, is he even in the show? Like, we don't know.
Okay, I Googled it, and
Yeah.
according to, I mean, I didn't do extensive research, but all the articles that I read said that he's in it again. They listed the actor and said they're like, these actors will be back for season 2, and he's listed on it. So what kind of reveal are they planning for us in season 2 with Dusty?
I have an idea.
Okay.
So I think that he's gonna be at that other school, that like all boys school with the uniforms
yes,
that like
yes.
Darren stole the uniform from.
Right.
Because like Dusty was like a little bit more rich, I feel like, than these other
Yeah.
kids. Like they kind of kept bringing that up. So I'm like, maybe Dusty's parents sent him to a different school.
Ooh, that's fun.
Because he like caused a lot of trouble in school. In the
Yeah.
first season. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if his parents either like he gets kicked out of school or his parents are like, you're no longer going to this sexed up school.
Yeah, the lowest ranked school in the district or whatever. Yeah.
I just hope he didn't get a haircut.
I know.
I know. Well, that was my thought. I was like, oh, it's going to be like a physical transformation and he's going to come with a buzz cut and that would be so sad.
Okay, that would be
That would be
devastating.
heartbreak
That would be
high
Felicity.
for me.
Oh. Felicity. Excellent rap. Wow.
Yeah, that would
Both
be
of you
Felicity.
on fire.
This show would get canceled if Dusty comes back with a haircut. But yeah, I do feel like, I'm not gonna lie, on first view of the trailer, I didn't think it looked that good. I mean, we'll see. I have high hopes for this show because season 1 was so good, but like I'm a little worried about season 2, to be honest.
I don't know that I have those same concerns, but I think maybe it's because I watched it more recently. So I'm still like on the high of season 1 that I'm just like,
Yeah.
give me more. Like I don't think too much about what the trailer looks like. I'm just ready for like more episodes. I don't know.
I was like, I'm worried.
I mean,
Well, we'll get all of your thoughts
Yes,
in
you
our
will.
episode where we'll recap season 2 after it's out.
don't you worry.
I know. I mean, again, I'm really hoping for the best, though. So I'm excited for season 2. I'll watch it in a night. All right. Well, I think we did it. We broke down all of season 1. Everyone be sure to watch season 2. Comes out quite soon, April 11th. I'll be watching. But before we go, it's time for our As If rants. This is the part of the show where we rant about something for 15 seconds, something to do with Heartbreak High. Claire, you're up first. Jesse, tell us when we're ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
How is it that these kids are always wagging off, aka skipping school all the time and not getting in trouble? Every episode, I'm going to wag off this next class. I'm going to wag off this class. You want to wag off sluts today? And they just never get punished for it? Excuse me, as if.
I love it. I love the use of wag off. That's so good. That was great.
It's Australian slang.
Well, I know. I got that.
Yeah. Context, baby.
I can't wait to say I'm going to wag off work tomorrow.
Because it sounds like you're saying something else.
It does. Interesting slang. That was a good one. And a very good point. I don't know. They were literally always skipping school. I love it.
Are we ready, Jill?
I'm ready.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
A show that takes place in Australia with no surfing, as if. I don't care if this took place in the city. I want these kids to catch some waves. Where's Chris Hemsworth?
Wow. Record 10 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Enough said.
So concise.
I wanted some surfing.
You're not wrong.
You know?
We did barely see even the beach.
I
Only
know.
A couple
Yeah.
times.
I mean, I guess they're more like
They're in Sydney.
city,
Yeah.
inner city, but catch some waves, brah. You know?
Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Exactly. I thought everybody in Australia surfed. All right. Well, that was a fun episode. I cannot wait for more Heartbreak High. And if you have not watched the show, please do watch it. It's definitely worth it.
We'll be back with an episode recapping season 2 after that comes out on April 11th. So you can listen to that on all podcast platforms. And while you're there, be sure to follow us, rate and review us. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at previously on _teen TV. Thanks for listening.